The New York Times reports that Donald Trump is internally weighing various proposals to jack up the birth rate, right? This is the pro-natalist administration. Among those proposals, there is reserving 30% of Fulbright scholarships for parents, a $5,000 baby bonus immediately after a baby's delivery, National Medal of Motherhood after 6 or more children. My question is twofold. One, why don't we just focus on the very elegant solution of increasing the child tax credit, which maintains the simplicity of the tax code and, quite frankly, would be much smarter than no tax on tips or no tax on Social Security. It would only cost about $500 billion over a decade to increase the child tax credit to $3,000. But the second question is, why are we focusing on doing things that haven't worked in any other country, right? Hungary has gone all in on celebrating mothers who have 6 or more children, and their birth rate is 1.52 children per woman. You have countries like South Korea that pay women to have children, it's under 1. Whereas, I think a lot of this is, we know that paying women to have children, it doesn't work. It does not work. But what does work is what we're seeing in some red states. Deregulating daycare, deregulating housing, zoning reform, like real things that make it easier for you to have children.
My question to you is this, Tiana. Do you think this proposal from Trump, and it's not really just the $5,000 checks for new mothers, it's things like cutting income taxes for everyone making under $200,000 a year, raising taxes on the highest earners in the corporate tax rate. Do you think Donald Trump is trusting the science when it comes to the birth rates specifically, or is he just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks as his polling slides and maybe be borrowing from the Democratic playbook in order to sway some of those people in the middle, you think?
It does feel like throwing things at the wall. And you know what? I'm sure the honest to God proponents of Medicare for All think like they're doing a very nice thing. But we look at the numbers internally and no, it just does not work. The math ain't mathin'. And that is a thing with when Trump says, oh, we're going to cut all income taxes for people making under $150,000 or $200,000. We know that doesn't work because the bottom 50% of earners only contribute 3% of all income taxes paid anyway, right?
Yeah.
But one of the things we see from other countries in terms of, so there are the countries that are trying and failing, right? Hungary being an example, South Korea being an example. Tucker Carlson keeps on talking about how conservative and pro-family Russia is, and their birth rate's 1.42 compared to ours, which is 1.66. Let's look at 2 countries that have kind of bucked the trend. Israel, with a staggering almost 3 children per woman, and France, which is at 1.8, which is still just below replacement level fertility. But if you compare it to other similar countries, it has not had the steep dropping off effect. And I think in part it's cultural. So look at this time use survey that shows in every other country the amount of time that parents of both gender, of both college educated and non-college educated, spend so much more time with their kids in a day than any other point in human history. The only country that isn't true for, France. And when you go to France, you see there is a heavy emphasis on parents don't necessarily center the child. Not in a neglectful way, I think in a very healthy way. In a way where, you give birth and they have a very robust daycare program and you bring your kid with you to the cafe and you bring them to the park and you kind of let them be bored in a way that culturally, I think we are very scared of letting children in America be bored and not centering everything around them. I think it makes parenthood seem really ominous and scary to people who don't have kids or who aren't around kids.
Yeah.
And so from a cultural perspective, I can think of 2 ways. The Trump administration has already totally changed the game. One, having someone like Caroline Leavitt, who is this young conservative Christian woman, and also a mother.
Yeah.
A mother of a very young baby.
A brand new mother. She had her first infant on the campaign trail.
That's an awesome thing, I think, for, especially women to see. And then secondarily, J.D. Vance. Say what you will about the guy on policy, but that is a feminist dad who clearly does his equal 50-50 share of the parenting. When you see him always carrying his children, bringing them to the Vatican, bringing them to Notre Dame, that is a very cool thing to see. And I guarantee you, changing the cultural game will do way more than a national medal of motherhood.